Hey folks, Zach Osterman here, IU Insider, Indianapolis Star. This is Mind Your Banners postgame after Indiana 27, Penn State 24. Mike and I are in, we're both in Big Ten press boxes, Mike. You've got to give us credit for that. I'm
Purdue count still?
Ohio State was here. Ohio State was here. So,
okay.
I mean, listen, we're going to talk, obviously, almost exclusively. We might talk a little bit about just the Indiana versus Ohio State dynamic that's developing as the conference season starts to wind down. But obviously, we have to talk about Indiana 27, Penn State 24. You are in-state college. I mean, listen, let's be really fair. Indiana did not play well, particularly in the second half. I think there were, it felt, obviously, I was watching from the Ross-Ade Stadium press box, like when Indiana picked off Ethan Grunkmeyer on Penn State's first drive, that felt very familiar, right? That this was Indiana football, that Penn State still had talent and it was going to take a little longer, but
go back even a drive before that. I thought when they won the front end of the halftime, that the first four of the middle eight, recovering that fumble, that was sort of the beginning of the end for Penn State. And then they add the interception on top of it, then everything goes haywire.
Yeah, they wind up getting into the red zone, but they don't. They kick the field goal. They go up 20-7. And then, the offense just really, I thought, ground to a halt. I thought this was the first time it really, I mean, even allowing for the Iowa game, this felt like the first time Indiana in a pronounced way was losing both sides of the line of scrimmage. The offense is going to draw a lot of the good and the bad from this game, but defensively, they were not getting a consistent pass rush. They were letting, sort of ball carriers slip through to the second level. They were letting Ethan Grunkmeyer break contain. I mean, it was, Indiana was very much on the ropes in this game.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I something Aiden Fisher said, he talked about maybe the run game a little more than the pass game where they were struggling in terms of struggling with some of the things that looks that they were, the way that they're opening lanes with the kind of the blocking schemes that they hadn't seen or weren't necessarily prepared for. And they struggled sort of even making adjustments, which you hadn't really heard them say all season. On offense, Kurt Zagnetti was very, I don't know if you saw the clip that I posted, very specific about where the struggle started with them offensively. He said, you can't really run an offense when you get whipped up front so bad. And that Fernando Mendoza was sort of under duress, under fire. And then if you go watch our podcast from earlier week, it sounded awfully like what I said. Basically, they got pressure, and then Fernando Mendoza reverted back to bad habits. He was holding onto the ball too long, and he was doing the things that he did sort of earlier in the season. And Zagnetti said it was sort of like pressure wasn't good, and then everything we got out of rhythm and couldn't get back into it until the end, the last drive. And I said that was going to be the formula for them winning this game, that they had to get Fernando Mendoza outside of his rhythm, and they did, and it looked like it was going to work until Indiana snapped back into it. And maybe this would be a good time to sort of talk about, I don't know, as improbable of a comeback as you kind of you'll see.
I mean, I do want to hit on just really quickly the things that, because listen, this is realistically probably the last test of Indiana's mettle until Indianapolis, I think, at this point, barring something really unforeseen. So I do want to hit on a couple of things here. Number one, I think you see how badly, like many quarterbacks, in fairness, how badly Mendoza needs the ground game against teams with the talent that Indiana is going to want to beat in December. And I know Penn State's season has not gone the way that it was, it was supposed to. But we talked about in the build-up to this game, and we weren't the only ones, the talent's still there. The athletic level is still there. And we know Fernando Mendoza, if Indiana's playing a Michigan State, or certainly like an Indiana State, Indiana doesn't have to run the ball well. They'll protect well, and Mendoza will have time, and he'll be comfortable, and he'll pick a team apart. But against those teams, against teams that are, I mean, frankly, even better than Penn State, which is what Indiana is going to see if they play Ohio State in Indy, or even if they play like Michigan or Oregon again in Indy, and then when they get to the playoff, they've got to be able to run the ball better. I also thought, and this is kind of I don't know how it felt in the stadium. It felt this way watching the offense trying to operate on the broadcast. Charlie Becker was outstanding, like not just good, he was outstanding. It still felt like Indiana really missed the rhythm that Elijah Surratt gives his quarterback. Fernando Mendoza did not have that that player to go to start a drive, to start a down sequence, just that comfortable, like, boom, 5-6 yard completion. Here's 8, here's 9, just something to get him in rhythm. Get the offense was behind the chains a lot, and it just felt like, as good as Becker was, and then, of course, Omar Cooper has an incredibly dramatic moment at the end, Indiana really missed what Elijah Surratt does to keep this offense on time and on schedule.
Yeah, but it's hard to separate, right? Like, because if they didn't get the pressure that they had, they probably had the receivers to beat them because the receivers did beat them.
But some of that pressure was also Mendoza chewing on the ball too long, because it seemed like
Right,
whether he was struggling with his reads or his receivers couldn't get open, the point was you were missing.
Yes, I mean, some of that was, but like I said, he's, I'd have to go back and look at like the extended plays where he just kind of held on to it. Kind of what was
there were a few, a few pronounced ones where he just and again, that could be on the quarterback, right? Like that could be he's not going through his reads the way he needs.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't know how bad
timing isn't comfortable.
One thing,
but Elijah Surratt feels like the player that gets him comfortable in those moments.
Well, one thing Signetti talked about was that they were able to specifically double Omar Cooper more than they would have been able to without Surratt on the field. So, I mean, it changed the coverage looks they were seeing. So, I mean, simply having Surratt on the field just because of his talent would have taken the focus off, probably opened things up for some of those other guys. To your point about the run game, this is probably a place to mention that this offensive line is not 100%, right? Drew Evans is out. This is what we saw last year, too, right? Before this big stretch of games that they had, Drew Evans left, and it really affected the entire offensive line. Ajane, is that how you say his last name?
I think it's Ajani.
Gets the start at left guard for Zen Mikulski, and Khalil Benson's clearly not 100% either. He's fighting through his ankle injury. Came out once, only missed one snap, I believe. But that does impact both. I think both of these things that we're talking about. The run game, just the blocking wasn't there up front, and then obviously in the pass game, some of it was protection, some of it was missing a lot of the blitzes. The blitzes that they did not do a great job picking up some of the pressures that Penn State brought, and it sort of all added up. I mean, it all fueled it. I mean, look, Signetti said basically when they watched their film, I think Aiden Fisher said it's going to be gross when they watch the film and see all the mistakes they made on the defensive side of the ball. But I think the same applies for the offense. And Signetti made that point a couple of times. He's like, look, we were bad and we played bad.
I mean, you said you mentioned a comparison for this game to the Michigan game last year. I think when we talked on our podcast midweek, you said, "Do you think it could be like that?" And I said no, and I was wrong because I didn't think that Penn State had quite the talent that Michigan had. I do think I suspect this is going to feel like about as good as like Deni Dennis or Zane Durant's felt like they played in a while, but still, and I know the dynamic of the game is different too. But I think these are things that listen. I just got done a little while ago with Ohio State's press conference, right? And there's a reporter in Ohio State's press conference asking Ryan Day about left guard play, not offensive line play, left guard play. Because when you are at this level, like every little thing matters. Day uses a phrase all the time where he says, "Do you grade out like a champion?" Like he doesn't say, "Do you get a passing grade?" The whole point is if you're at this level, these are the margins, and this is how.
I'm not sure Indiana would get a lot of passing grades today based on the way.
No, I mean, certainly not champion grades. I don't think.
No, not even on the same planet.
But the point is that's the lens through which we are evaluating this now. And so it is worth saying, as poor as Indiana was, because it was also interesting to juxtapose this next to listening to Ohio State talk. And at one point, and I mentioned this in my insider, Ryan Day said, that there was a sequence at the end of the first half where I think Ohio State scored, punted the ball back to Purdue, stopped Purdue on a 3-and-out, got the ball back, and then had about 50 seconds, drove down and got a field goal. And he said basically that's about as urgent of a 2-minute drive as we've had all year in terms of getting to work in those moments.
What is this? Mind your Buckeyes? Let's get back on task.
Well, but it's compare that to Indiana, a team that maybe justifiably people are going to look at tonight and say maybe they aren't quite as good as Ohio State. But the flip side is Indiana has now seen the dragon. Multiple times where Ohio State's sitting here saying, geez, thank God we got a genuine 2-minute drill in at the end of the first half of a 34-10 win. Indiana has the lived experience of we are staring over the edge of the cliff. And when we did that, we were our absolute best. I mean, Mendoza, you were in the stadium, so you will probably be able to speak to this even more than me. But after that first down sack, it was like he turned something off in his brain. And
Well,
just like almost every throw he made from there, whatever he might say about it, almost every throw he made from there.
There we go. It's exhausting. That's why we had to be multiple states apart. The car ride tomorrow is going to be terribly long.
What car ride?
It's you know what's funny? Signetti pulled the reporters unofficially. He's like, "How many of you wrote us off?" And I said, "Well, Zach Osterman did. He wrote you off so bad. He's at Purdue's game."
Did you really say that to him?
No, if I did,
that'd be great if you did.
No, I think you're right. He turned something off, and it was just playing. What great players rise to the moment, to rise to the occasion, and I think that's what you saw. I think the Heisman moment for Mendoza wasn't necessarily the last, because maybe this will be controversial. It wasn't necessarily the touchdown catch, because I think Omar Cooper deserves like the lion's share of credit for that play.
Yes, it was
that's not
none of us understood, because obviously the whole press box was kind of like paying attention in that moment. No one understood how he did that, how he kept that foot off the ground.
And I actually got a chance to talk to his parents, and they were very funny. Like, we knew right away. And so look for that tomorrow morning on Herald Times. But so I think that specific moment was Omar Cooper, but the drive itself to sort of rally, because like you said, after that sack, they're behind the sticks again, and you just think, here we go. This is what we've seen the entire second half, and it's going to fall apart. They had a couple plays go kind of against them even after that, and they just kept getting back up, and he was getting hit really hard, throughout that drive, and posted a video clip of talking about how he'd rather die on the field than give up on his brothers. But I just thought when you looked at that 2-minute drive, that's what you submit to the Heisman committee. It wasn't just a single throw, because I thought Omar Cooper made that play sort of single-handedly.
Yeah,
but the drive itself that's what you say. When you can pick a TV episode to submit to the Emmys, when actors do, like, that's what if he has a submission tape, that's the tape. That's the 2 minutes.
Well, and even more than that, and like I wrote about this a little bit in my Insider, where I just said, like, Julian Sayin probably has the numbers, right? Like he's been more efficient. Ohio State's been more dominant. Undeniably, Indiana's played a tougher schedule. But this is 3 games now where you can point to, like, and a Heisman Trophy.
Well, but to be
decided.
Yeah, to be fair, he did throw the interception, and I don't think you can discount. Like, he was pretty bad today. Like,
no doubt, no question. And I'm not prepared to do what Gus Johnson did, which is give him the Heisman Trophy today. But the point I made in what I wrote is that, like, college football, a Heisman Trophy, a legacy, a quarterback's, sort of whatever. It is not just numbers; it's moments too. And Mendoza has.
Where would that come in this last 3 games? There it was, right?
Right, like Mendoza has moments now. Like, think about, obviously, the touchdown pass to Surratt in the Iowa game, which is probably the third most impressive of them all. His response to his own pick 6 with the touchdown drive that turned out to be the game winner at Oregon, and then this one, which is, to your point, yes, the Cooper catch, like, Cooper deserves all the credit in the world for the catch, though Mendoza's getting hit as he delivers that throw too. So it's like it is reflective of just overall one team just sort of saying, like, we are just not losing this. And some of the throws he made in that drive, it's funny. This is not the first time that I feel like I've said something like this or thought something like this. But Indiana fans have seen that before. They've just seen the other team do it, where they punch up all day, they drag the other team down to their level, they make all the little plays, they put themselves in that position. And in that moment, when Mendoza takes the sack, you think, like, he just doesn't have it today. Because we'd have to go back and like look at it again, but that sack felt a little bit like he was holding onto the ball too long, or at least that he wasn't seeing his reads in the field as quickly as he needed to. And then from there, it's not like most of those throws were just because Penn State was playing prevent coverage. He was hitting guys up the seam. That throw to Charlie Becker was absolutely it was a wonderful catch by Becker, but it's an absolutely perfect throw too, because the defensive back's got his back turned. Becker's the only one that can make a play on the ball. Like, it's at the right height, everything. Ethan mentions the Riley Nowakowski play. Like, that is a grown man catch right there, to be in that spot in the field and hold on to the ball when you take a hit like that. Like, how many moments has Indiana football had like that? There are not many. And we've talked about this too. And I know this didn't come at home. And it still feels like Indiana fans have not had like a moment like this at Memorial Stadium under Curt Cignetti. But they did have a moment like this at Memorial Stadium during the COVID season, and they couldn't be there. And I think there's a reason why stuff like this feels different. Is because even if it's on the road, there is just something more sort of like just like myth making essentially about it. And I mean, this is going to be a moment in time for IU football fans forever.
Well, that's the way I framed it when I asked Omar Cooper's parents about it. I was like, what's it like not seeing your son make a game winner, create an iconic moment in a program that's going to last forever? That's what that was. And I mean, it stands out more because IU hasn't had a ton of them, right? So, I mean, that even elevates even further. But the idea of, and I kind of asked the fans kind of crowdsource, like, what's the name of this catch? Because like, toe tap and there's going to be a name that sticks eventually. And this will be a moment when they get to the playoffs or when they compete for the Big Ten title game in Indy that fans will, I mean, it's just going to last the test of
time. Uncle Buckle says, where has Becker been? I mean, he's been on the second team. Like, it just Indiana hasn't rotated its receivers a ton. Becker has clearly been the next guy up, especially at the boundary, but they just haven't needed a lot of him. He spelled EJ Williams a little bit, and then of course now the Elijah Surratt absence has him taking a lot more snaps, but that's where he's been. We'll obviously have more time to digest all this. You've got work to do. We've both got sort of literal miles to cover. And as Zap Brannigan reminded me, I guess I am driving you home from Chicago tomorrow. But I mean, you listen, you were there, so I give you the final word. Like, just any he's forgotten about driving you home. You're there. Any final word from you?
Yeah, I'll end on this, and this is kind of what I was going to open one of my stories on about Curt Cignetti and this win. It's like, what do you think was the more unlikely sight on Saturday? An Indiana football coach exiting Beaver Stadium as a winner, or Curt Cignetti exiting the stadium taking selfies with fans, and all the selfies. He did it for one fan, and I think he did it for this one young kid, and he realized what he did, and he's like, all right, I'm in. And he literally went down the line. There was like a couple hundred fans and, groups, there's some people, some parents, but I mean, like everybody, he went down the line. And it was kind of a wild thing. You just look, he has a hard time enjoying this stuff just because he's so focused and so on the next thing and so in just intense. But this one mattered as a kid that, came from this state and has history here.
I was going to say, and for all of his like professing respect for Penn State, it felt a little bit maybe a little personal maybe today.
Well, he added that quip at the end. I don't know if you saw that on the intro. Oh man, it's where is it? Oh, it was the most improbable victory I've ever been a part of, and there couldn't have been a better place to make it happen.
Yeah. A Western PA kid who played at West Virginia and cut his coaching teeth at Pitt. Yeah, I think maybe the Penn State win meant a little bit more to him today.
So I mean, and you got to see it, but yeah, it was kind of a crazy scene with, like I said, a couple hundred fans. They had this lined up. The buses were waiting for him. It was a really far walk too from where all the stadiums under construction. And like I said, every fan he took out. Like I thought he'd cut it off at some point and thinking like, we got to get going. There was no the plane's waiting on us. He gave them all their time. He gave everybody their moment. And you know what? That's how you build. That matters. And if you win championships, maybe it doesn't. Maybe down the line. But like right now, if you're building a program and you're trying to like say, come with us on this ride, like he made moments for kids and for fans that they've never had. And I think I talked about this on the radio earlier this week, that the idea of like the fans that came out here, like there's no fan had ever seen what had happened today, right? Yeah. And so that adds to the moment. And it was just, that's probably where I'll wrap it up. But yeah, it was kind of crazy. Never thought I'd see Cignetti posing for all these selfies for social media and letting people were so frazzled because they didn't expect it. So they're like fumbling their phone and he let them have time to get it right. I was shocked, stunned.
What did he do when you asked for a selfie?
Well, I said it. Every selfie's 6 seconds at a time, and
one selfie at a time. All right. He's Mike Neislick. I'm Zach Osterman. Sorry about my ego. I apologize for that. But get your work done. Travel safe. We will see you in the Windy City tomorrow, and we will try to get out of it before it becomes the Snowy City tomorrow. Thank you all for watching along with us tonight. Thank you, everyone who's listened to this. Please remember to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. The beat goes on, folks. As the man once said, the road goes on forever and the party never ends. We'll talk to you soon.